Grouper hunting trips start before dawn. When the sea is still covered in thick morning mist and the gentle waves reflect the yellow lights of the fishing boats, the crew prepares fishing gear, checks fishing lines, hooks, live bait and large nets that are rolled up neatly. Groupers are predators that hide in deep coral reefs or rocky areas, with large bodies, large heads, wide mouths and extremely strong bites. Therefore, catching them requires experience, technique and extraordinary endurance. When the boat reaches deep water, the fishermen drop long fishing lines into the seabed. Each line is hooked with small fish as bait. Waiting is the most stressful stage, because groupers are very cautious. They can hide and observe for a long time before attacking. Suddenly, a shout sounds signaling that the fish has taken the bait. The whole team immediately rushes to pull the line. The groupers struggle violently. Water splashes. The fishing line is so tight it looks like it is about to break. Each person took turns holding on tightly, using all their strength to pull the giant fish out of the water. After dozens of minutes of struggling, a heavy, dark brown and black body appeared. It was a giant grouper, some weighing more than 100 kilos. With its mouth wide open, its scales shimmering in the morning light. The fisherman used iron hooks to fix the fish's mouth and then pulled it onto the deck. The fish was still thrashing vigorously. Each tail flapping made the deck vibrate. After the fish was controlled, the butchering process began right on the ship. The cutter brought a sharp knife, washed it with seawater and began to peel off the thick skin. Each decisive stroke of the knife cut along the spine, revealing a layer of soft, pinkish white meat. The grouper's fat was not much, but the meat was firm. With a distinctive aroma, and was considered a premium meat in high-class restaurants. The worker divided the fish into parts: head, body, belly, tail. Each part was carefully processed to keep it fresh. Large pieces of meat are immediately wrapped in ice, ready to be put into cold storage. The bones and organs are cleaned, which can be used to make soup or as bait for the next fishing trip. The salty smell of fish blood mixed with the smell of sea salt, along with the sound of waves crashing against the side of the ship, creates a powerful and wild scene. After many hours of work, the deck is cleaned again. Everything returns to order, leaving only the blocks of grouper meat packed in white ice boxes. The ship turns back to the dock, carrying the heavy fruits of the ocean and the sweat of people who have experienced the wind and waves. When arriving at the dock, the grouper is weighed. Classified and shipped everywhere. Those fresh pieces of fish meat will then appear in seafood markets or luxury restaurants, where few people know that to get a delicious piece of fish, behind is a difficult and dangerous journey in the middle of the ocean. When the grouper is brought ashore, each styrofoam box filled with fresh fish meat still emitting cold steam is neatly arranged along the wharf. Workers quickly check each batch to ensure the quality is not reduced during transportation. The salty smell of the sea mixed with the characteristic fishy smell of fish creates an atmosphere full of fishing. Wholesalers, restaurant owners, and traders wait early, They choose grouper with shiny skin, clear eyes, and good elastic meat, signs of perfect freshness. Right at the wharf, there are professional workers who cut the fish one last time to divide according to demand. The head is chopped separately to cook soup. The large body is cut into thick slices, and the fatty belly is kept intact for steamed or grilled dishes. Each sharp knife slice cuts through the white flesh, revealing firm meat fibers and a light fragrance. When the knife hits the bone, a dry sound echoes along with the sound of waves and the voices of people selling goods, creating a lively scene at the fishing port. A few groupers are brought to the industrial processing area, where the processing is carried out in a cold, clean and closed environment. Employees wear gloves and protective clothing. Each piece of fish meat is washed with diluted salt water, then vacuum packed for export. Grouper meat from deep sea areas like this is favored by Asian and European markets, especially Japan, where it is considered a high-class ingredient for sashimi or delicate soups. The largest fish are often put up for auction. Their value can reach thousands of dollars, depending on size and freshness. Meanwhile, in coastal fishing villages, people still keep the habit of processing grouper in the traditional way, cut into cubes, salted and dried on bamboo racks in the sun. This type of dried grouper can be preserved for months, used during rough sea seasons when it is not possible to go out to sea. Each giant grouper piece of meat is the crystallization of the labor and long-term experience of fishermen. They understand every ocean current, every reef where the fish live, and must risk facing rough waves and strong winds to bring back precious spoils. When night falls, the fishing port gradually quiets down. Only the sound of the wind blowing through the anchor ropes and the flickering lights reflecting on the water surface. But in the hearts of fishermen, pride still burns brightly. Because they know that each piece of grouper meat on the dining table of many people is the result of a persistent battle between humans and the ocean, where courage, ingenuity and endurance have created the true value of the sea profession. When it was late at night, the ships returning from a long fishing trip anchored in the bay. The yellow light from the cabin illuminated the shimmering water. The fishermen took the opportunity to sit down, sip hot tea, and recount the tense moments when the giant grouper bit the hook, when the fishing line almost broke, or when the whole group had to join forces to pull a fish weighing nearly 200 kilos onto the deck. They told the story with pride but also with a mixture of fatigue. Because to catch a giant grouper, sometimes it takes days of monitoring, changing bait, and even diving to find their location. Groupers often hide deep in crevices of rocks or coral reefs, and just a loud noise will make them disappear. Therefore, each success is a significant feat. The next morning, in the coastal processing area, the sound of chopping knives and pouring water echoed regularly. The fish cutters continued their work. They used wide knives to cut evenly, separating the thick and hard skin from the meat inside. The grouper skin is kept because it can be processed into a special dish when boiled. It has a chewy, crispy, fatty and fragrant texture. The meat is cut into blocks, balanced evenly and then carefully packaged. In another corner, a group of workers are removing bones, filtering the loin, leaving the most intact meat fibers. Large pieces of meat are put into ice boxes, tightly closed, labeled with the date of catching and the sea area of origin. Outside, refrigerated trucks are waiting, ready to be transported to big cities. The best meat will be sent straight to luxury restaurants. Where chefs use sharp knives to cut it into thin slices like silk, arranged on plates with lemon and herbs. The fresh taste of the grouper meat is sweet, firm, and has a rich sea smell that makes diners unforgettable. Meanwhile, the rest is divided among local markets or sent to be dried. Each piece of fish is washed, salted, and dried on a bamboo rack to catch the sun and wind. When dry, they turn a light yellow color, with a characteristic aroma, and can be preserved for months. For coastal people, grouper is not only a source of income, but also a symbol of luck and strength. Many families believe that whoever catches a large grouper in the first sea season of the year will have a prosperous year, with a full hold of fish and shrimp. And so, year after year, the sun-tanned men continue to go out to sea, facing the ocean. Making a living with their own calloused hands. The sound of waves, the rumbling of ship engines and the smell of fresh fish have become part of their lives, harsh but also full of pride. Where each slice of white grouper meat is proof of the extraordinary vitality and determination of humans in the face of vast nature as the sun gradually rises. The golden light shines down on the sea, making the small waves sparkle like silver. In the distance, fishing boats still persistently drop anchor in the middle of the sea, continuing a new day of fishing. In the hold, the smell of salt, fish and engine oil blend into a familiar scent that only those who work at sea love. Fishermen dry their hands, check their tools, replace bent hooks, and reconnect frayed lines. The work seems to be repeated every day, but is full of challenges and requires deep experience. Groupers are cunning predators, only eating bait when they feel completely safe. So fishermen must be patient, observing every movement of the water surface to predict when they will appear. Sometimes for hours they just sit silently watching the sea, waiting for the buoy to vibrate slightly, signaling that the fish will bite the bait. And just in that moment, all their strength is put into their hands, pulling quickly but firmly, keeping the line from breaking. When the giant grouper emerged, the sunlight reflected off its body, making it glow a brilliant copper-brown color. The scales were as big as coins, and the skin was thick and hard, making everyone admire the strength of this animal. People used iron hooks to hook the fish's gills, and then the whole group pulled it up. Cheers echoing across the ocean. Streams of bright red blood flowed out, mixing with the deep blue sea water, spreading into magical streaks of color. The last fish lay motionless on the deck, large and majestic like a trophy. When the ship turned towards the shore, the sun was gradually setting in the west. Seagulls were circling. The engine was roaring. On the return journey, everyone took the opportunity to clean the fish, cut off the excess, and wash it with seawater to reduce the fishy smell. They used knives to cut large pieces of meat, dividing it into many equal portions. One person carefully separated the fish eggs, because it was a rare specialty, and many people paid a high price. The large fish head was set aside, prepared for bone stew or porridge. The fresh pieces of meat, pale pink shining under the sunset, were neatly arranged in styrofoam boxes covered with ice. The job seemed simple but required speed and dexterity, because if there was any delay, the temperature would increase and the fish would lose its freshness. When the shore gradually appeared, everyone smiled with relief. Another hard day had ended. Another full catch of grouper in the hold, bringing joy and hope to the whole family waiting on the mainland. They knew that tomorrow, when the sky was bright again, the sea would beckon. They would continue to set sail, continuing their journey to search for giant groupers in the endless ocean night falls. The port is immersed in dim yellow light. The grouper crates that have just been unloaded still have cold water on the surface. Each drop flows down to the wet cement floor. The fishy smell of fish, the smell of sea salt, the smell of engine oil mixed in the wind creates the typical atmosphere of the fishing village. After a long trip, the fishermen are exhausted but their faces are still radiant because today the ship's hold is full of spoils. In the processing workshops near the port, workers are still working diligently under fluorescent lights. After being weighed, the grouper will be brought to the area to be washed with cold seawater and then transferred to the cutting table. The sound of the knife gliding through the fish's body is cold and precise. Each layer of thick skin is peeled off, revealing the pinkish white meat inside that shines under the light. The worker skillfully uses a long blade to separate the loin, where the meat is thick and most delicious. Each thick slice of meat is arranged evenly on the table, waiting to be packaged. The fatty and softer belly of the fish is kept separate, suitable for steaming or charcoal grilling. The viscera are carefully removed. Some parts are kept to make a rich broth. Each large piece of grouper meat is placed on a stainless steel tray, sprinkled with a layer of diluted salt water to preserve the natural color, then quickly put into the cold storage room. The whole process takes place continuously and rhythmically. No one is allowed to delay even a few minutes because the freshness of the fish is the decisive factor in its value. Outside, refrigerated trucks are waiting, engines humming, preparing to depart to deliver goods to supermarkets, restaurants and large seafood markets in the city. Another part of the fish batch is selected for export, vacuum-packed, labeled with clear traceability, detailing the date of capture, sea coordinates, ship name and processing unit. Deep sea grouper from cold waters is favored by international customers because of its characteristic flavor. Sweet, firm meat, not fishy. Meanwhile, in another corner of the village, The elderly women still maintain the traditional way of processing. They split the fish, marinate it with coarse salt, and hang it on high bamboo racks to dry under the hot sun. The strong sea breeze, the salt vapor and the sun blend together, causing the fish skin to dry, turning a dark yellow color, giving off a strong aroma. After many days of drying, the dried grouper will be cut into pieces, carefully packaged to sell to traders or to store for the rainy season. For them, it is not only food, but also the crystallization of effort and time, the reward of the ocean for persistent people. When the last work of the day is finished, everyone returns home, sitting on the porch listening to the murmuring waves. In the sky, the full moon illuminates the sea, reflecting a shimmering silver light. Tomorrow, at dawn, they set sail again, carrying with them their faith, courage and desire to conquer the giant groupers lurking in the deep, continuing their endless life of making a living in the vast ocean the next morning. When the dawn was still faintly visible on the horizon, the fishing port was bustling with the sounds of people, the sound of ship engines and the sound of waves lapping against the sides of the boats. The fishing boats from the previous night were preparing to leave the dock, their bows pointing far out to sea, where the deep and cold waters were home to giant groupers. On deck, fishermen arranged their fishing gear, checking each 100-meter-long fishing line, each shiny iron hook and the baskets of live bait swimming in the seawater tanks. They understood that to catch a large grouper, not only strength and technique were needed, but also luck and an understanding of the rhythm of the sea. When the boat left the dock, seagulls flew overhead, screeching loudly as if to send people off to sea. The sea surface opened up vast. The sunlight gradually shone down, illuminating the small ripples. The sound of waves mixed with the sound of the wind created a familiar melody for those who lived their whole lives with the sea. After a few hours of traveling, the captain signaled to stop the engine when reaching the area with reef terrain, where grouper fish often hide. The fishermen began to lower the fishing line to a depth of dozens of meters. Small buoys floating on the water surface marked the bait position. Then they sat and waited, in the silence of the ocean, with only the sound of the wind and the steady rhythm of the waves. Suddenly, a buoy vibrated strongly, pulling down. The fishing line stretched as if about to break. The man sitting closest immediately wrapped the rope around his arm, signaling his teammates. The whole group coordinated together, each person holding the rope, pulling up gradually, sweat running down their foreheads, veins bulging on their arms. The giant grouper below struggled violently, trying to hide in the reef.